So you ever listen to yourself in a recording and thought, that's me? That's what I sound like? Yeah, that was me. And I didn't like it. But then when I started thinking a little deeper, I got to wondering, do my clients hear this too? We as financial professionals speak to people on that capacity, and yet here we are seemingly negating one of the most important components of a life insurance sale. We must sound professional. We must take authority of the conversation. And above all, we're expected to be the experts. So, why is speech so important in financial sales? Well, it's simple. People aren't purchasing life insurance, they're purchasing you, the trusted advisor. They are going to make their final decision based on this dialogue that they have with you. So, what comes out of your mouth during this consultation will absolutely dictate whether or not you gain this new client. They want to feel like they're doing business with a confident, competent professional. And if you're one of those who conduct business over the telephone, you're going to have to master this speech thing because you lose the advantage you gain from nonverbal communication, which makes up for more than 70% of a typical face to face conversation. So, how is it that we've messed this up so badly? Why is it that our speech articulation seems to be going in reverse? Is it cultural? Is it our environments? Quite likely so. Think back on your parents. Did they speak properly in the home? Did you pick it up from them? And then think about your children if you have them. Are they picking up on the lack of articulation that maybe you have? So let's briefly cover two components of speech that I think are very, very important. Number one is your accent. Now, your accent I describe as a double edged sword because it can work against you or it can work as a very powerful advantage. For example, I grew up in the South, and the Southern accent is actually quite powerful in sales so long as you couple it with articulation and proper grammar. But on the other hand, you combine a Southern accent with slowed speech, running words together, making up your own words because it's easier to run them together than it is to speak them individually, you're going to find yourself being called either redneck or ghetto. It's the South. What goes along with that is the perception of a lack of intelligence. And the other component of proper speech is grammar, basic principles of the English language. For some reason, as a society, we've succumbed to normalizing lazy tongues, double negatives, and even using non existent words. Ain't is not a word. Just saying. So, how do we overcome this speech issue so we can get those sales? Number one, you're going to have to become aware that there is a problem. You have to acknowledge first that we need to work on this. Number two, we must be proactive. We're going to have to go back and study the original grammatical principles that maybe we forgot. Number three, practice. We have to practice. We are going to have to repeat the proper way to say things over and over again until it becomes second nature to our brain, like the way it should have been in the first case. I'm the worst at this. I catch myself all the time, but I'll throw this note in there. Anytime I catch myself in mid conversation, or at least I try, I do pause the conversation. I'll go in and correct myself. And what I find happens is the other person in the conversation seems to be quite impressed with how self aware I've become. Don't be afraid to go back and correct yourself, even if you're right in the middle of a conversation. Number four is also quite simple. Research. You hear someone use a word that maybe you don't know what it means. Google it, look it up, incorporate it into your own. Do not be afraid to extend your own vocabulary. And then lastly, go all out, do what must be done, attend a professional seminar. There are many professionals who dedicate everything to just teaching others how to be professional in sales conversations. And any way you look at it, your speech has to take priority. It's definitely your most powerful asset in going into any sales call.